Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Um, so yes, I'll be talking on experiencing blackness and reflection on Patrick's air condition theory. So just to say that Patrick is my humble self, and I'll be talking about the theory on air condition and the likes. And just to start with, I will also want to bring you greetings from Scotland. I just presented some few hours ago in the Conference on African Studies, and it's interesting to also be here, courtesy of technology, to be able to present in this conference too. So going to the discourse in itself, it's important for us to do some conceptualization of blackness. So the entirety of my conversation, I'll just conceptualize blackness, talk on Patrick's air condition theory, and then I will contextualize it within the Canadian experience. And the reason why we need to talk about black experience in itself is that we really cannot if we don't understand, we can't discuss what we don't know. So for that reason, this is important for us to um, have a notion around Black experience. And according to Franz Fanon, in his work on black skin, white marks, he talked about blackness as a constructed identity that is imposed on us by the colonial structure. It's a power dynamics that was imposed upon us. And in this space, it is the argument as relating to a group of people that in most cases are objects of conversation and not subjects of conversation. This will make sense when we talk about the conceptualization of blackness, even within the space of research, whereby in most cases black and blackness is discussed as objects of research and not as subject of research as a stand. And then he talked about the concept of inferiority and dependence and the alienation that comes with that within the space of blackness. So in essence, the whole conversation in which Fanon was arguing was to say the idea around blackness in itself is a social construction, which was dependent on the environment in which we find ourselves. So follow me on this. And then Okello in 2024 also argued on blackness to say that there are different metrics to the discourse on blackness, and he talks about the different metrics that comes to play within the space of blackness in itself. He talked about economic, epistemic, social, and political metrics that comes to play within the space of blackness. And this notion is to say that the conversation around blackness uh, depends on the viewpoint in which you are coming from. There are technically the positive and negative notion to the idea on blackness, and it talks about blackness as also connoting people, a group of people that have shared heritage on this concept of subjugation that Fanon raised, the concept of subjugation and alienation that Fanon raised, and said a group of people that have experienced this over time, right? So blackness also connotes this group of people, and this experience can be the experience of slavery in different parts of the world, colonization also in different parts of the world, civil rights movements, especially in the global north as a stand. And then within this space, even within this social construction of blackness, it talks about the whole discourse around racism, equity, and the justice issues that comes from this notion of blackness. And what is interesting in this argument was to contextualize blackness, according to Ukelo, to say that it's blackness in itself is shaped by the historicity of violence, right? The magnitude of material destructive power that have made some humans to become black. So it is this historical experience that connotes us as black as it stands. And so this whole thing I just discussed now is within the negative perception of what blackness in itself connotes. But we also connote that the fact that there are positive perception to it. The concept around black joy, for instance, when blackness is seen from the space of identity, a source of pride, right? Blackness as a source of an indication of the resilience and the empowerment in which a group of people have actually endured over history, right? For instance, I used to make a case to say that my accent, right, my language and my disposition is a reflection of the struggle of the people that have come before me, a reflection of the resilience of the people that have come before me. And Steve Biko made that notion when he argued around black consciousness and talked about black consciousness as a reclaiming of what is black, and arguing that blackness in itself is a state of mind, right? A state of mind in the sense that you may see blackness on the notion of Fanon and other scholars that have seen it from the negative perspective that has resulted from our historical past, or you may also see blackness from this space of pride and resilience and the likes. And there's a need for blacks, for black Africans to reclaim their dignity, the dignity of humanness that has been taken away as a result of blackness. So basically, that's the notion to blackness. And I will talk about this multifaceted nature of blackness. But before we go there, I just want to talk about the air condition theory in itself. So the idea of the idea of this paper in itself is to explore the representation of blackness in Canada within the Canadian experience, and how blackness is communicated in research as well as policy paper. That's the aim of this presentation. This is a work in progress as it stands. And using air condition theory, the central notion of air conditioning, the motivation to this theory was in answering the question, why is conflict prevalent in Africa and the Middle East? And within that space, the argument was to say that conflict is prevalent within this space as a result of the temperature, the climatic condition, the geographical climatic condition of this place, being that they are temperate region. And so the argument here was to say that as a result of the high temperature in this region, they are prone to conflict. And I was looking at this theory basically from my Nigerian experience, and to say that what I've noticed is that the elites, people that are in air-conditioned houses, air-conditioned cars, are less prone to violence. Why the poor masses that are constantly under the sun are prone to violence at a moment's notice. And in that space, I argue to say that as a result of this observation, is to say that and the environment conditioning of individuals, the peculiarity of individuals actually influence their propensity for agency. So an individual that is within the space of wealth and grew up in the space of wealth and is relaxed and all that is less likely to be violent. His agency is limited, quote and unquote, as compared to the other individuals. So the argument there is to say that our environment really influence our notion as it relating to our agency. And this is important when we discuss blackness, even within the Canadian culture. And it's to understand the idea of blackness within the Canadian culture. First is to argue that when it comes to the experience of black, or the reporting and the communication of blackness in Canada, it is often lumped together as a single notion, right? And it's just seen as just black experience. So when there's a report on a study that was done in Canada, we just say this is the study of Black people. But the argument I'm making here is to say that we have to be conscious within the academic space or within research and policy, not to lump this as just Black people, but to see the configuration of what makes up of this Black as a stand. And the rationale here is that the argument here is that to see that the further away from home you go, the further away from Africa that you are, the more the same that you are seeing, right? The argument here is to say that, for instance, if you are in Nigeria, you are seen as from different ethnic group. You are either Yoruba or Hausa or Igbo. When you leave Nigeria, you are seen as just Nigerian. And then when you leave Africa, you're just seen as Black. And within Africa, you can still see Ghana, South Africa, Sierra Leone, and the likes. But when you come to the global north, the further away, you are just seen as Black. So probably that may be the rationale to that. But however, my argument is to say that there's diversity in the Blackness that we found in Canada, in the sense that there are African Caribbeans. There are Africans, Blacks that are African. There are Blacks that are Caribbean. There are Black in Asia. There's Black in North America. South America, better still, there's Black, and then also there's the entirety of North America. There are different diversities to Blackness in itself. And this is interesting in the sense that when you look at demographical, when you look at demographic questionnaires of Asia, for instance, you will see they'll say Southern Asian, Eastern Asian, and there are different connotations to what Asia is. But when it comes to Black, they just say Africa or Black, right? And then that is lumped together. And as scholars within this space, my thinking here is to say that we must see these vertical and horizontal differences in our Blackness, in the sense that apart from Blackness from our origin, there's Blackness from understand Blackness from different intersectionality. In the space of the experience of a Black woman is different from the experience of a Black man. The experience of a Black man that is rich is different from the experience of a Black man that is poor. The experience of a Black arrivant is different from the experience of a Black that is born in Canada and the likes. And it is very important for us that when we look at Black studies, we are conversant with the fact that there are intersectionality that comes with our Blackness. And this intersectionality, this shapes our experience as Blacks as it stands. So the concept of unique displacement, for instance, is very important when we look at Blackness between class, profession, as well as visibility. This quote, I found this quote in LinkedIn, which was very, very relational, in the sense that when we talk about the place of classes, possession, and visibility, you realize that even within the space of Blackness in itself, there is this quotation we talk about the fact that when you are seen in different space, and the treatment and the view that is amassed on you is different, right? While you are seen in a space whereby you are not welcome, you are also seen from where you are from, you are also not recognized, quote and unquote, as a stand. So within higher education, like I said, there's for us to rethink how do we equitably ensure representation when it comes to Blackness. Tobert argued on that, and he said in his work on Black Lives Matter in higher education, the argument was to say, how do we actually ensure equitable distribution within the discourse of Blackness, within the different connotation for Blackness, all right? And the question is, which Black is Black enough? When you interpret yourself, how do you come with this notion of the Blackness that you want to express, right? Should I express myself as a Black Nigerian, an arrivant in Canada, or as just black, or as a black man or black woman and the like. So this is key. And as I conclude, I just want the argument here is to say that it is important for us to understand the place of intersectionality, to understand the peculiarity of modernity that has influenced the discourse of blackness and the experience of blackness within the Canadian space. We must understand the influence of migration, understand the fact that that has redefined and reconfigure the concept of blackness within the Canadian space. And that naturally should reflect in our research and our engagement going forward. And so on that ground, there's a need for us to be conscious about designing multimodal, multisensory method in the communication of blackness in Canada. With that, I say thank you for listening.